should now be live. Hello everyone, I'm just going to double check everything is working correctly, but I believe that it is. Glorious. Hello everyone. Crazy Creature 9, hello. And yes, if you like the look of the Monopoly Park, I believe there is a park tour of it on the channel, if you want to check it out at some point. Hello Untamable King, Smaug, Nicholas, Kairu, King Giga I think is here, and Berenson I think will probably be here in a second too. How has everyone's Sundays been? I know for those of us in the UK, we're enjoying the fact that the weather has decided to cool off a bit. Yes, Crazy Creature 9 has been so nice. It's actually quite ironic though, because me and Dane literally ordered brand new fans. One of which arrived today, on the day that it's like been cooler and we haven't really needed it. It's the way it goes, isn't it? You went to Jurassic World the Experience, Smaug. Did you enjoy it? Prehistoric SeaWorld Park. Oh, cool, Kairu. You should check out my lagoon-only park build that I did some time ago. Again, I think there's a park tour on the channel. So I did something similar. No worries, Nicholas. You went to saw the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. I've been umming and ahhing whether to go myself, but I've decided I think I won't because I just don't think I support the idea of live action remaking every animated film in existence. Hello Rob. Right, well, last week, if you remember, we got to work constructing our historical site. We decided this was going to be like the original church of Winston Bay that got bombed by the Luftwaffe in World War II, and they rebuilt the church on the other side of the bay. And we got to work building up onto this area up here, where we're going to have another little town and sort of hotel area and stuff like that. And we also got to work in making use of this area down here. And off stream, I have done some homework. And I have finished putting in all the decorative elements, geothermal springs, etc. for our little geothermal site that we have here. I have to admit, since I put all these stuff in, the Alamosaurus have mostly spent their time in the geothermal springs. They've been loving steaming themselves. And of course we also put in some mock Decentrurus down here alongside them. So today's job is I really want to focus on building up the upper area, creating the sort of viewing area spaces for this enclosure. Also putting another species or two in here, just to sort of, you know, give it a few more animals, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Which stegosaur do I want to see return most in JW3? Huangosaurus or Werho? Easily the Huango. Easily. Werho is okay, but Huango I think is more unique, more usable. Hello Dylan, how are you doing? Okay, so just having a look at the terrain here. It may be a bit of a hot take, but I kind of like the Camp Cretaceous Kentrosaurus more than the JWE. Oh, I can tell you guys about a little thing I'm going to try and do. So I've gotten really sick to death in my videos lately of having to say Jurassic World Evolution 3 or JWE3. So I'm going to start abbreviating it to E3 or Evolution 3 because that to me makes more sense. If we all start doing it, it'll catch on. That's the plan. Okay, so I want to continue with the road up here. So what I'm thinking basically is this is going to be like a small, like not as big of a town as over there, but like a small one here. Maybe more like set around like a circular road, like a large circular road. And then we'll have like a hotel or spa or something that's going to overlook this. That is the plan. Anyway, let's probably put in the big circular road first. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then just going to make it a little thicker. There you go. See? Oh, blimey. Chat's full of... Oh, yes, I did see that there had been a developer interview. Yeah, Crazy Creature 9. I'm not... I was thinking that if they're... Because I believe they do it at the time that the stream is meant to start, so... I will probably just say, let's do a watch... We'll watch the Frontier thing together. And you can all have another, live reaction thing from me. And maybe this time we'll actually get round to doing it, unlike, what happened last time. Usually, Kairu, when they do their first, like, if they do the same thing that they did last time, we get like one new species. Well, we got 2 species profiles the first stream, and then we got a new one each stream after that. So maybe we'll get something new. Okay. Yeah, and then we're just going to build the town around that. But I should probably think about what we're going to use for, like, the spa building. And I think we'll probably the best building to go for is potentially something like this. But I do want it in the right location. It's funny you should mention the species profile, actually, because I have a bit of a hot take about them, which I know Evo didn't agree with. to me, I think the species profiles should not be about the obvious species we already know are there. Like, if we get Triceratops or T-Rex or Brachy as species profiles again, I'm like, what's the point? We know these animals are going to be in the game. The species profiles should be showing us the new ones. Now, some people's kickback to that has been, well, yes, but seeing those big ticket items get people interested in the game. But my perspective is, well, they're in the trailer, so we don't need a species preview. And it's a dinosaur game. No good dinosaur game is not going to have T-Rex in it, for heaven's sake. Like, we should be seeing the new creatures, not the ones we already know about. I suppose, given this game's species roster being cut, I suppose it's more important this time around to show us what ones are actually returning, but like, with Jurassic World Evolution 2, we only got 12 species previews, and 6 of them were species that were returning from the previous game that I would consider are base generic dinosaurs. T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Triceratops, you know. To be honest, it does make sense to show more new species in the field guides. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I've also decided I'm more or less avoiding Reddit now. Reddit's becoming so toxic over Jurassic World Evolution 3. And I just have no time for it anymore. Like, I'm tired of the really toxic attitude that's going on there. So, yes. I won't be posting anymore on Reddit. Reddit was mostly an experiment anyway, which hasn't really worked. So. I'm kind of hoping the species that looks like a tiny Dimetrodon. Oh, I know the one you mean. Let me see if I can pronounce the name. Where is it? This one. Platyhystrix. I think it's supposed to be Platyhystrix. Yeah, Utahraptor definitely should not be cut. And it is. I suppose it is, Joe. Although I would say it seems that Jurassic World Evolution... It seems that E3 has... the fact that the cutting of the roster and the modular building, it seems to have been two elements that has really drawn out a lot of differing opinions, and it's become quite toxic as a result. Oh, you're going to watch Jurassic World Rebirth, Luna? Well, I hope you're not disappointed with it. I, meanwhile, as I have said before, but I'll say it again in case people were expecting, I won't be watching Rebirth until someone pirates it in good quality, because I am not giving my money to a cinema to go and watch it. So I will eventually watch it, and I will eventually do a video on it, but it probably won't be for a few weeks. Normally I'm relatively anti-piracy, but in Rebirth's case, I couldn't give a shit. Universal have had quite enough money from me. Okay, so this is going to be like our mock little spa, which will also, you know, be a nice overwatch of the dinosaurs. Can you remove these trees? I'm gonna remove all of these, but I am gonna replace them. I just want to be able to like plan this area. I do not want Cenozoic species like Smilodon. There's just the ones like Megalodon. Yeah, actually, it's funny you should say that. Just before I came live, I was reading through a Reddit conversation with someone asking about whether they, you know, we wanted to see Cenozoic species or not. And this is where this thing of me deciding I'm quitting Reddit because the chat was so really toxic. But it does seem that there is a really big sort of not disagreement, but I would say is a divide between those who do want to see Cenozoics and those that think that they don't suit Jurassic World's or Jurassic Park's style. For me, I think it's inevitable. I think it is inevitable that eventually more Cenozoic species will come to the game. Like, I don't think they can continue Jurassic World Evolution games without Cenozoics, personally. Well, I mean, you could. There are so many animal species that you could use. You could easily continue without Cenozoics. But I think if you want interesting creatures, which we all do, then I think you have to start having Cenozoics. And I think, unfortunately, they set a precedent by putting Megalodon in, personally. Like, you've put Megalodon in, that's a Cenozoic animal. You know, it's... You've got Dimetrodon, you've got Lystrosaurus. Like, you're gonna have to start diversifying the roster list now. Like, I personally think they should focus on some animals over others. I think we really ought to have had, you know, Edaphosaurus and Gorgonopsids and that sort of thing by now. You know, I would rather we got prehistoric reptiles or mammal-like reptiles first, but then I wouldn't be necessarily then against them bringing in Cenozoics. It is inevitable, I think. Just want to create a little car park arrangement. Honestly, so I assume the mutants will eventually come to the game. There'll be one animal I just never use in my parks. I will never use them. That forwards just a little bit. I don't think mammals will ever come to E3. It should have been at the start to make them made properly. Maybe. But like it seems to be a really sort of divisive topic, and the people I saw talking on Reddit about it were getting pretty heated. Well, yeah, Untamable King, I made a video about it as well, that they are basically hybrids. They confirmed they were hybrids. And we always knew that they probably were hybrids. Which just makes them just as bad as... Well, I think it makes them worse in this case, because, you know, I remember back in the day, didn't they say that the reason there were no hybrids in Dominion was because they realized we didn't like them? And now they've brought them back. Just, you know, in a half-assed way. New director, though. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I suppose we can say about the film. Thanks to Gareth Edwards, it's going to look good. But... And I suppose if all you go to a film for is to see a flashy light show, then yeah, fine. But if you go to a movie seeking something more than that, which I do, this movie doesn't seem to be standing on very solid ground at the moment. Like I say, I will go and see it. Or I will be watching it eventually, but let's just say I suspect my opinion that it's going to be a shit movie will not change after I watch it. I think the very best that Rebirth is going to achieve for me is it will be marginally better than Dominion. Like, if it manages to be marginally better than Dominion, I will consider that a success on the film's part. But that's like a very low bar to pass, you know. Thank you, Untamable King. It's glad to know people watch them, you know. just doing is I want to create like a little, just a little garden area. Because this is supposed to be, you know, a spa, so it makes sense for us to have like a little garden area. Jurassic World Rebirth is funny to me because the story literally undoes the entire message of Dominion. Well, yes. Which is, I suppose, one of the reasons why I'm not interested in it. Because Dominion had the potential to be a really good film. And they refused to actually do anything with its setup. And then I was expecting them to be like, well, let's actually do something with it in the next movie. And it's like, no, we're still not going to do anything with it. I'm like, what in the God's name point was it? Dominion then was a waste of time. You know, you just created a 2-hour movie of a waste of time because you've just retconned everything you came up with. Like, what was the point? What I want to do for this area is I want to try and create some, like, modern art. What we're going to do is each of these is going to be sunk into the ground to create a sort of vertebrae-like effect. This one being the tallest point, obviously. And then we're going to have like one slightly lower, one slightly lower, and then one a lot lower. Look at that, that's almost a perfect... That's almost a perfect line down there. That's almost perfect. Right, so this one needs to be about that tall and about there. And then this one needs to be about that tall and what's it, about a centimeter away. This one. Sorry, folks. I'll look back at chat when I just finish putting these in. I'm really not used to chat being as busy. I've gotten very much used to like chat being like 5 or 6 people, and now that the channel's been growing quite a bit in the last few weeks, I'm really not used to having so many people watching. I'm gonna have to learn how to keep an eye on things. Okay. What I would like to see next is a movie set on the mainland or a HBO series. I think a HBO series, you know, if The Last of Us, which I watched through with a buddy recently, has shown me anything, it's the TV series now are kind of doing a lot better than films in terms of the quality of their storytelling. So I would love to see, you know, a HBO series based off the novels or an original story. You know. Hell, even I would love to see a reimagining. Like something that I think they should learn from Star Trek is that Star Trek has a lot of like different universes and parallel dimensions, and it means that they can tell quite a range of grandiose stories without necessarily retconning what has been before. And I feel like there is the potential in that sort of idea to be like, well, what if we actually did do a reimagining of Jurassic Park, but let's reimagine it as the original park actually opening, or let's reimagine it as something closer to the novel, or let's reimagine it as, you know, I think there's what I'm basically saying is that there's the potential, if you have your imagination, to reimagine Jurassic into something that would be really good potential for a TV show. Something with a more adult bent, because, you know, I've heard people say that Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory are certainly better than... They're not perhaps fully children's shows, but they are not exactly adult, are they? Enter the Jurassic verse. Hello, monster. Oh, Dinosaurs with Stephen Fry. Good God, what an appalling program that was. Honestly. Obviously, what makes a good program is purely subjective. But in my opinion, Dinosaur with Stephen Fry is objectively a terrible program. If you think Dinosaur with Stephen Fry was a good program, then I think you need to go and have your head examined. It literally failed on every single aspect of a good documentary. And sullied the name of Stephen Fry. And talking of sullied names, so this week's video that I put out was Jack Horner, T-Rex is a scavenger and not a hunter. Fletcher comes in and punches Jack in the face. Shut the fuck up. Honestly, I would. Because that whole argument is so flippin' stupid. Fucking... I hate John Horn. I hate Jack Horn. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson turning Pluto from a planet to something else. I'm like, you cunt, frankly. No, but it's okay. We've made Pluto its own type of planet, which we've called Plutoids. And I'm like, yeah, but now every school kid who's learned how to, you know what the planets are in our solar system, you've now just ruined it for them all. Because now what are we gonna do? My very easy method just speeds up naming blah, because we can't say Pluto anymore. Hello, Guillermo. Jurassic Fight Club. I still haven't seen that. I've been trying to find bits of it, but I still haven't like found a whole episode that's like watchable quality. Just because I wanted to compare it to Dinosaur with Stephen Fry. Because I was just very curious. You know something I'm really looking forward to in E3? And it's really sad, but I'm really looking forward to guests actually sitting on these flipping benches. It's just going to be nice to be able to put benches down and have guests actually sit on them so they don't look really bizarre. And it's really sad that that sort of change is we have to kind of like say thank you to Frontier for actually doing something that every other game for decades has been able to achieve. Oh yes, Gareth Edwards got in trouble because he said he didn't find feathered dinosaurs scary. Me and Evo were talking about this actually, and I think I said something along the lines of, if a director can't make a feathered dinosaur scary, that's the fault of the director, not the dinosaur. If you can't make a feathered raptor scary, then you're just a bad director. That's the truth. Calling you out, Mr. Gareth Edwards. Yeah. I suppose this is one of the reasons why I just have had absolutely no interest in Rebirth. Like, with Dominion, I at least had, like, opinions. I had particular views about it, based on what the trailers had shown. But Rebirth, I don't even really have... I have some opinions, but I'm more, like, to the point where I just don't really care. I'm kind of completely ambivalent to it. Like, it's like Marvel movies to me now. You know, oh, there's another one. That's how I see them. In fact, it's worse than Marvel movies, because I actually take interest in them now because of having watched a lot of them and having actually now watched a lot of Marvel stuff. In fact, me and my buddy Nerd Guy just finished watching the new Daredevil show. Very impressed. I was very impressed. But yeah, like, I care more now about, like, paying attention to the occasional Marvel project than I do about Jurassic, which is horrifying. It's really kind of sad as well. It just demonstrates how much the franchise has lost me as a Jurassic fan. I like this idea. Ooh, and we can name this. We can name this. These are cypress pines, right? What are these trees? Hang on. What are these trees I've just put in here? Cypress trees. Okay, we can call this... We can just call this the Two Cypress Spa. There we go. I think I spelled that wrong. But we can call it the Two Cypress Spa. I swear the umbrellas looking like they're not in the exact middle of the tables bugs me. Oh, they're slightly off. I apologize. That was not intentional, I apologize. Nice. Honestly, at this point, I don't want Gareth Edwards to make any more Jurassic movies. And yeah, Crazy Creatures. I am basically just caring about E3 now. I really want it to be good. When Jurassic World Evolution 2 came out, I was really dismissive of it because I just didn't think that it was doing enough. And I think if we're all fair, I think arguably JWE2 was not the next step that we all hoped it would be. I think if we are being truly honest, it really just wasn't the big enough next step. So I'm really hoping that E3 is going to be the step up that we all so far hope it looks like. Because I would like Frontier to prove that they can actually be a good studio again. Like, I've played so many of their games in the last few years. Not just Jurassic World Evolution 1 and Jurassic World Evolution 2, but also other games of theirs. I played the Formula 1 management games. And again, I was so disappointed with them. So I really want E3 to be successful. Like, I would love it to actually be a good game. I want to be able to, you know, a few weeks after release, make that review and be like, yeah, this is the game that Evolution should have always been from the start. Yes, it's not good that it wasn't, but they got there in the end. This is a fantastic product. It's a really good framework. I'm really looking forward to everything they're going to do with it. That's what I want the review to be. I'm really crossing my fingers to hope that it's going to be that good. Crossing, like, everything. Because if it's bad, or if it's bad to me, then I'm just going to get a load of people hating on me, going, oh, you don't like anything Jurassic. For once, I would like to be able to prove to people that, yes, I can actually enjoy something. So Frontier, for God's sake, don't screw it up. If we look at their other games like Planet Zoo, I am hopeful, especially as Planet Zoo has been going for ages and still has consistent updates and player counts. Interesting that you should mention the updates, because since there's quite a few of you here, I actually want to ask you guys a question, because I'm curious what your opinion of this is. Planet Zoo now has, I believe, something like £200 worth of DLC, or also 22 DLCs. Thank you, Crazy Creature. Something crazy. Now, my question I have for you guys is, at what point does a game have too much DLC? Because something that I have heard people speak positive about is this idea that, oh, well, if E3 is being treated like Planet Zoo, then maybe we're going to end up with, like, more than just 2 years of development. Maybe we're going to end up with it being constantly developed. And as a result, we're going to have many more DLCs. Now, I'm curious as to what your guys' opinions are on whether a game... Well, let's start with the first question. Is it possible for a game to have too many DLC? And if so, at what point does it become too many? Like, what is the moment when it's like, no, this is too much and you need to stop? So Sheriff Berenson agrees that there is too many, and I feel like over 20 would be too much. At least it's not like The Sims with 97. Yes, that is true. Obviously, I think we can all agree that something like 97 is definitely too many. But let's be not like EA, and let's be a bit more reasonable. Is there a more reasonable number that we can say is still too many? It becomes too much when the total DLC price is more than the game itself. Interesting perspective, the monster. Especially considering that E2 has over £60 worth of DLC. So that would mean that E2 has too much by that position. I don't think I'm going to be able... I wanted to see if I could put a water feature in here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to keep the water where I want it, because... I hope they changed how the sloping system works in the next game. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yes, I can be, and I think around 20 DLCs are plenty. In my opinion, the game has too much DLC when the DLCs are 2 times more expensive than the game. I think it's really... I think it's a really tricky question. Because obviously some people are going to be a lot more willing to spend their money, especially on something that's labeled Jurassic. I think for me, it's going to be really dependent on not necessarily the number, but I think it's what they're actually doing with it. If they're just using DLC to create copy-paste animals, which arguably some people have said that Planet Zoo is doing, then I think that's the point where you should just stop. You know? If you're actually using the DLC to do something worthwhile, then yeah, fine. But if all you're doing is adding in yet another elephant species that no one really cares about, then what is the point? Fun fact, there's a Planet Zoo mod that improves a certain species' fruit. Just wanted to create a kind of mock little Zen garden area. It's not perfect, I know, but just want to give it the feel of a Zen garden, you know. I like the idea of this being like in the fountain, so like when the water is falling on it, it makes a nice noise. I love the fact that it is like the Zen garden is like on the main road, on the road leading out of this area. Oh well. We'll have to hope that it's not too busy. I also think it depends on the game. Like, I think there is definitely a point where you can have too much. Can we denote where the parking space is actually? I think I was just using these. I think that'll do. Oh, and I think we need some gates. Let's make it like a nice sort of gated area. Nice. I really like that. I think that looks pretty good. No, I think what I want to do is have like a more conventional viewing area here. But I would like it to be part of something else. What if we gave them a bit more space? No, I'm assuming we won't be able to customize the depth. I'm assuming we'll have like normal water, and then we'll have the swimmable water. And then I imagine that'll be about it. Okay, so this is my idea. Let's grab like an attraction, an amenity. Well, what I want to do is have like the viewing area off the back. Let's smooth this down. I think everyone is going to be disappointed with a cut species or two. I think it's inevitable that we're all going to miss something. I think, actually, that one of the more conventional ones would work better. I'm cooking here. I'm just trying to make... That'll make it look like there's a passage through to there. Yeah, Dunglioceus and Megalodon are still semi-confirmed. I personally would prefer Dunk to Meg, just because, you know, that's my preference. If one of them had to go, I would get rid of Meg, but hopefully none of them are leaving. Can you please tell me which mod you're using in this park build, Warrior? I'm using dozens of mods, like so many mods. So if there's something, if there is a mod specific that you're looking for, I can certainly tell you about it. But you'll need to, you know, give me specifics. Actually, I'm thinking, what did I do down here? Okay, grey path with cobbles for the touristy bit. Okay, so it's okay to use cobbles here, but we need like a grey path that runs around the outside. Table one thing I hope they do. I hope they make the dinosaur calls less obnoxious and less common. I agree, Joe. I think it's about time we had a proper Dilophosaurus. Oh, the crab walking. I should definitely think that the crab walking will be fixed. Because if it isn't, that's a big mark down, because it's like very basic animation quality. Okay. How do we build the town up? Okay. I think this one, we're not going to make it like massively amenity heavy because that's not what the purpose of this part of the park is. We're just going to basically just put in some normal-esque buildings. I do wish that there were some mods that added more sort of domestic buildings, I suppose is the word you could use. I think over this side we will have... Okay. The modular building system, I think, will be a big improvement for JWE. But I also have a suspicion that it's not going to be all benefit for the franchise. I do think it will cause it to be not massively popular on release. Or at least it'll lead to a lot of player drop-off, I think. I also don't necessarily agree with the people that say, oh, well, the modular building is just optional. I don't think that's an entirely fair assessment. I think, arguably, it will only be optional if Frontier continue to add non-modular prefabs to updates and patches. If every DLC and update and patch they release just has more more like modular building pieces, then that's not, in my opinion, optional, because the people who aren't modular building won't be able to use those bits. So it's only really truly optional if Frontier continue to support both sides of the building community. And I don't think they will. I suspect that we will not get new prefab stuff at all after release. Because I think Frontier's perspective is, oh, well, we won't need to because we've got, like, the workshop. So people will just download stuff off the workshop. Which I also don't think is going to be the help that everyone seems to suggest it will. I did mean to do a video on it, but I'm not sure if I can be asked to risk being abused by the pro modular building community. Because they have been extremely loud lately. DLC will 10,000% add more build sets. Well, I'm not totally convinced of that. We'll have to see what happens. But it's not building sets is not really what I mean. I mean they have to include prefabs. New building sets, fine, but if they're all just modular building sets and they don't come with prefabs, that's a problem. Like, we've got to have prefabs being incorporated into that sort of update as well. Modular building is a curse. I think of all of the features that they're adding, I think modular building is going to prove the most... It's gonna prove to be the one that people have very distinct opinions on. And I think those opinions are also going to be really different, depending on how they implement it. Like I say, like, I love the idea of modular building. What I don't love is that a lot of games that do modular building, I feel, don't implement it in a way that isn't a pain in the ass to use. So if they can find a way to implement modular building in a way that actually works for a majority of people and isn't a pain in the ass to use, then I will be all for it. I'm just not 100% sure they can. I think modular building is always going to be one of those methods that separates the pro builders from the basic builders, which I'm sorry to put it across like that. That is, I suspect that is also going to be a side effect of this modular building, that I think it's going to breed a certain level of superiority complexes in certain individuals. I mean, I can imagine Swerve being the sort of individual to get a very big superiority complex from being able to create a great modular built park, for example. Not saying that people can't be proud of the stuff they build, of course. I'm just saying there's being proud and then there's being arrogant. And I suspect this modular building is going to lead to a lot of arrogance in some people. Damaging buildings is going to be interesting. I would assume that the building is going to be, like, once you finish modular... Because we're not really building the building. This is something that I've noticed having a look at the stuff that we've gotten. We're not really building the building itself. What we're doing is we're building a shell around a big black block, which is the actual building that the guests are going to interact with. So we're really only building the outside shell. So I do wonder how things like building damage are going to, interact with that. Right. G for advanced move. For heaven's sake. Come on. Bugger. Lesson learned. Now will you do it? Thank you. I like that. Do you like Swerve Fletcher? No, I don't. I think he's arrogant. I think he's obnoxious. I think he's thoroughly unlikable as an individual. I think he represents all that's gone wrong with the Jurassic fanbase, actually, to be honest. Because people that are like him are everywhere now in the Jurassic fanbase. Arrogant, obnoxious children that can't handle someone having a different opinion to them. Sorry, Brinson. These make fish. They do. We do not need the rant, no. The only reason I watch Swerve is for the Jurassic series What Ifs. I don't really care enough about some of the Camp Cretaceous stuff. Well, no, and we all know why Swerve decided to jump on the Camp Cretaceous bandwagon. Because he saw an opportunity to, get himself an audience that was, shall we say, easily manipulative, easily manipulatable. He went for kids. Kids are easy to manipulate or lie to. They don't question you if you say something that's complete bullshit. Which, it has been proven that he has said complete fabricated lies before, and he gets away with it. He was the one spreading the lie that the new film was going to be called Jurassic City, before everyone proved he was not true. And then he still kept using that incorrect name for ages after the new film's name was revealed. And then when he was called out on it, turned around and said, "Oh, I knew that. I was the one that told everyone." No, you weren't. Oh, me and my team were the ones to reveal the name. Your team? Right, yes, of course, Swerve. Of course. Swerve sounds like a cartoon villain. Yeah. Watching you do it, it seems so easy, but there are a lot of things I see you do that I've never even thought of, like using invisible fish feeders to put fish in a pond. That's awesome. Thank you. You can also use other things, like some of these lagoon pieces. You know, a little bit of coral you can cover up, but the ones that create a lot of fish around them. This one, for example. You know, just angle it slightly and bury it slightly to get rid of that, and then you've got some fish. Something that Jurassic World Evolution 2 really suffers from, and something that I really hope E3 corrects, is that too much of the park is static. Like, too much of everything we can put down doesn't really move. You know, even these flags, which are on single poles, are static. They don't shift in the breeze. The real only things we have that add movement are the fountains. And I really hope that in the next game they give us more decorations that are that add that movement to the park. Because the guests certainly don't do a good enough job of that. Nice. So what we'll do up here is, obviously, the jeeps will come up this hill. There's a stop here for the jeeps. They'll come up here, go round here. There'll be a stop up here for the jeeps. Then they'll come back round, down. Well, actually, they'll go this way to... So what I've decided is this is also going to be another wild area, connected technically to down there. But this bit is going to be park, quotation marks, be like a safari park area, which will actually be built like a park, overlooking the town. So we'll have like a couple of wild areas and then like a couple of like park areas. Right, I've done plenty of building for the like last hour and a half. I do apologize. It takes so long to build stuff. You wait till we get to modular building. That's yeah. Anyway, so something I want to do for this area is to introduce a carnivore. But to introduce it, you know, in a way that is safe. So what I'm thinking of doing is in an invisible wall, and the invisible wall is going to go kind of down here. There. So we're giving ourselves a little space for our carnivore. And I'm thinking, considering this is a river, I'm thinking we'll make it a piscivore, and we'll put baryonyx in here. What I'm going to do is make this a little wider for him. like thusly. And we'll get rid of all these trees and replant the area. There we go. Just so I can see where it is. Okay. Obviously, a different variant than the base game, Kairu. Yes, because the base game, Barry, is shit. To put it blunt. I cannot understate how much I detest the Fallen Kingdom baryonyx. I think it's terrible. Also, I've just realized, but I forgot to mention that if folks remember, today is my D&D day. So I will be heading off 10 minutes early, just so I can get things ready for that. Let's introduce our fish feeders. Delightful. Right. Shall we go and find some baryonyx? Yeah, that's my thinking, Kyrie. Baryonyx seems to be the sort of carnivore that I think would probably be okay around very big herbivores. Hmm? Yeah, no, it's not that warm in here, is it? Right. Sorry, Dane. That was Dane. Okay, baryonyx. So we won't be using that one. Now, I have two different versions. I have this version, and I have this version. This version is slightly bigger. Comes with quite a range of patterns, including some I really, really adore. There's a 2015 Nublar. There's the Kenatoy. Hellraptor A I really like. Hellraptor B I really like. Tomistoma I really like. And Orinoco I also like. And, you know, the colours just add, you know, lines, etc. This one, it's a slightly different shape, slightly smaller. We have, again, a range of interesting things here. Now, since we are doing male and female, what we could do is create a male design which is the bigger, and use the smaller design to be the females, which are smaller. If we can make a male and female skin that kind of looks similar. The thing is, as much as I really like this like Tomistoma, which is this speckled brown, I don't think there's a pattern in this one which is kind of similar. Maybe that is kind of similar. The alternative is we just use this one for the male and female and give them different skins. And then that way we can use whatever ones we like. I do kind of really like that white pattern. Let's see if there's any others that look good. That looks good on the head. That's kind of cool. I like that. I think that looks really good. Okay, there's our male. So, Barry, Onyx, this is Draco Warriors. Male is extra variant 7 and extra pattern 19. Now, female. If we went with this small, so it needs to have like green on the flanks and a brown body. Is there a version? Not really. I mean, that could maybe work. It's just not brown enough. Are there any of these that kind of match? No. We need. We'll put a couple of special ones in there as well. I'm just thinking, did that one work for our extra? Where was our? It was extra 5 and that one, wasn't it? I think what we're going to have is make a female skin on this guy, to be honest. So, let's say, what do we want the female skin to be like? There are so many good skin patterns, the colors for this particular mod. There are too many that look really good. I do want a bit of mutual sexual selection going on. So I want them to have some colour, but maybe not tons. Like maybe if it's a little washed out like that, I think is alright. Yeah, okay. So female are extra variant 7 and Papurana. And then we'll have 2 specials. We'll obviously have 2015 Nublar. And I think we'll put Tome... actually, no. I want to put in one with colour. So let's put in Hellraptor B as well. So I like Hellraptor B. Some colour to our Baryonyxes. Baryonyxes? Baryonyxi? Interesting you should mention ecosystems as well. Because I got massively downvoted on Reddit for saying something which people seem to have taken as me being critical when I wasn't. Someone asked why more people weren't talking about making ecosystems like Site Bs in E3. And I responded by saying, well, it's because most people build proper parks. And for people who don't build proper parks, Jurassic World Evolution 2 is not really well suited for building Site B. That's essentially what I said. That most people build parks, and the games aren't really suited to it. And it got massively downvoted. Someone said, oh, what gives you the right to criticize how other people play the game? I'm like, I didn't. I just said the game isn't suited for it. Like, what? Incidentally, I think people who build Site B parks are, you know, my opinion is that they're not playing the game as intended. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying they're not playing the game as intended. And in that case, I think their opinion on where the game needs the most work and where it needs to improve shouldn't necessarily be considered as valid as people who play the game in the way that it's intended and know where the problems are. Build ecosystems, you know, play the game as you like. But I do think we have to admit where someone is playing the game as intended and where someone is not. Because the things that both sides of that argument want are very different. But yeah, I was being relatively civil and nice, and I got hit by like, oh, you're just being a dick. I'm like, oh, okay then. I could say a lot worse than that, trust me. Exactly. Park management should come first and foremost in a park management game. You know, that has always been my opinion of this game. And people try to turn it into something it isn't. I feel like I have to remind them it's a park building, park management game. It isn't about anything else other than that. But some people don't like being reminded of that because some people want these games to be, you know, like Fortnite, where it just absorbs every other type of game into it. Another reason why I'm coming off of Reddit or not posting as much on there, because I just feel more and more that like people just don't fucking know how to have a conversation without getting bitchy. And I have no time for that anymore. Disagree with me? Fine. Have a conversation with me about it. But if you're just going to be a proverbial, you know, then I won't listen, because I cannot be asked with people like that. Right. 2015 Nublar 1. And Hell Raptor B. Oh, now what? Sinosauropteryx again. Because you haven't gone and gotten a drink.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome our baryonyx to the park.
The water is right there. These guys are proving to be like the Drysaurus in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. They just won't bloody drink. Ooh. Alright, are they all? Oh, they're all in. Lovely. Where is my beloved Hellraptor? There he is. And then obviously what I'll do is I'll put in the vegetation for them. Make sure everything looks nice around there. And then I think what will be next is to have another species of animal in here. Probably a hadrosaur or a ceratopsian. And then that'll be this area basically done. And then the rest, then this side will be like the other half of it, where we'll have like some Camarasaurus and some other stuff, basically. Well, I think this has been an enjoyable session. It's been nice to talk to you all. It's been very active in the chat, which I'm glad to see. It's always nice to be able to have lots of discussions and stuff. Next week, obviously Wednesday, we may have to figure out what we're doing because of the Jurassic, the Frontier thing. So I will need to investigate that and figure out how it's going to fit with our normal stream stuff. But yeah, like I say, there's a video ready to go for next week, already done and dusted. So I hope you guys watch that. It is an interesting topic this week. And yeah, so thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope wherever you are, you have an enjoyable rest of your Sundays. And until next time, stay safe and good night.